2 snippets, same job, process 1 million shapes, the one on the left. Clean code 2014. Polymorphism, interfaces, a factory, a strategy. 2,140 milliseconds, the one on the right, no classes, no inheritance, 2 NumPy arrays. 45 milliseconds, 47 times faster in a synthetic benchmark. The only difference is that the second one stopped pretending the CPU was a philosophy class. This is the end of clean code. Clean code came out in 2008. The advice was good for 2008. CPUs were still getting faster every year. Most software was glue. Most engineers were paid to onboard the next engineer, not to push silicon. So we optimized for the human reading the file. Small classes, small functions, inheritance trees, dependency injection. We treated CPU cycles like they were free, because for one specific decade, they kind of were. But around 2005, single-thread clock speeds stopped going up. The free lunch ended. Meanwhile, the amount of data each program had to chew through went vertical. Logs, events, embeddings, frames, tokens. The bottleneck quietly moved. It used to be the CPU. Now it's the memory bus. Specifically, it's the cache. And every layer of abstraction you add, every interface, every virtual call, every wrapper object scattered across the heap costs you a cache miss. A cache miss is 100 nanoseconds of your CPU sitting there doing nothing, waiting for RAM. You wrote I-shape strategy. The CPU heard stall. That bill came due. We just kept paying it because the cloud kept getting cheaper faster than our code got slower. That trade-off is over. Inference costs broke it. Open any well-architected backend service from the last decade. Pick a single endpoint, get users.id, watch the call stack, controller, service, mapper, repository, ORM, driver, SQL. Then backup. Then mapped to a DTO, then validated, then serialized. That endpoint on a modern machine could be a single SQL round trip and a JSON.stringify, 2 milliseconds end-to-end. Instead, in a typical Nest.js style stack, it allocates roughly 11 objects, dispatches across 6 interfaces, and ships in 28 milliseconds on a mid-tier cloud instance. Numbers are illustrative. Your flame graph will look different. The shape will not. We told ourselves the layers were for testability, for separation of concerns, for the next engineer. But the next engineer doesn't read your call stack. They read the flame graph in production at 3 a.m. when the autoscaler is melting, and what they see is that 92% of the wall time of their request on a mid-tier cloud instance is not business logic. It's the ceremony of pretending to be enterprise. This is the tax we keep talking about. Every wrapper, every interface, every just one more layer, it's not free. It shows up in the cache, on the bill, in the latency. Hold that thought. Here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. The ORM and the Vector Database SDK are the same software disease, 10 years apart. In 2014, we took the fastest query language ever invented, SQL, and wrapped it in object relational layers because raw SQL wasn't object-oriented enough. We paid for that with N+1 queries and migrations that took entire weekends. In 2026, we're taking the fastest math kernels ever shipped, SIMD dot products on contiguous float arrays, and wrapping them in vector store classes, retriever interfaces, and document chains. Same Java brain, different decade. The kernel underneath is screaming. The wrapper is making it whisper. Same tax as that 47x. Just 2 layers up the stack. Every generation of engineers does this exactly once. We wrap the fast thing in the familiar thing, and we call it best practice, until the bill comes and a 22-year-old writes a library in Rust that does the same job 30x faster by simply refusing to add the layer. That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. And the pattern has a name, same hardware tax, same clean code reflex, just 2 layers up the stack. In 2014, Mike Acton stood on a CppCon stage and said something that broke a generation of game programmers. He said the purpose of all programs is to transform data, not to model the world, not to express domain language, to transform data. Different micro benchmarks measure different things, the multiplier changes, the shape doesn't. He coined a phrase that, if you internalize it, will quietly delete half of your codebase. Where there is one, there are many. If you have 1 user, you have 1,000,000 users. If you have 1 particle, you have 10,000 particles. If you have 1 embedding, you have 1,000,000,000 embeddings. Designed for the many, not the one. Object-oriented programming is the philosophy of the one. You build a particle, give it methods, give it a constructor. Then you make a list of 1,000,000 of them and take 1,000,000 cache misses. Data-oriented design is the philosophy of the many. You don't build a particle. You build the system that holds all particles. Position in one array, velocity in another, lifetime in another. The hot loop touches one column at a time, sequential bytes, and the CPU prefetcher loves you. The ugliest code in the file becomes the fastest. By a lot. Let's get concrete. Here is what every textbook tells you to write. Array of structs, AOS, looks reasonable, reads like English, and on a million particles on every iteration, your CPU pulls in entire particle structs, including the bool, the padding, the lifetime, every time it just wants to update position. You're hauling 64 bytes to use 12. You're wasting 80% of your memory bandwidth. Now here is the worst code. Structure of arrays, notice the active flag, there's no if. We multiply by the mask. Inactive particles get multiplied by 0, which is a no-op disguised as math. That's the branchless trick, and it's the same idea as np. Where in the cold open. The CPU never has to guess which path you took, so it never mispredicts, never stalls, and the loop vectorizes cleanly. There is no particle class. There is no encapsulation. A junior code reviewer would call this a regression. And it runs 6 to 12 times faster on the same hardware, because every cache line you load is 100% useful work. Add CMD intrinsics on top, auto-vectorized by the compiler, and that gap stretches to 30. AOS keeps one object's data in a single cache line. The right call when your hot path touches every field at once. SOA wins when you stream one column at a time. This is the second case. This is not an obscure optimization. It is the entire reason DuckDB, Polars, ClickHouse, and Apache Arrow exist. They all picked columnar, structure of arrays, over row-oriented. They all decided that the cache line was more important than the object model. And they're all winning. This is the part that sounds like heresy. The second commandment of clean code is don't repeat yourself. Dry. And senior engineers, the real ones, are quietly breaking it. On purpose, with a paper trail. The generic version is elegant. It will pass code review at any FANG. In many cases, depending on the inliner heuristics and the closure shape, it also defeats the autovectorizer, because the compiler can't reason through the indirection in many cases. The specialized version is ugly. It will get a comment in the pull request asking why it isn't generic. It is also roughly 13 times faster on the benchmark in question, and the comment in the file, the most senior thing in the entire repo, says, in plain English, do not deduplicate this. That comment is a senior engineer leaving a note for the junior version of themselves. The comment says, this looks like a violation. It was measured. The violation is the point. Here is the shift. Nobody is saying readable code is bad. We're saying the definition changed underneath us, and most of the industry didn't get the memo. Readable code in 2026 doesn't mean small functions and dependency injection. It means a senior engineer can look at it for 30 seconds and predict what the CPU is going to do. They can see the loop. They can see the memory layout. They can see the cache line. The old definition optimized for the next engineer who has to add a feature. The new definition optimizes for the next engineer who has to make it survive contact with a billion-row dataset, or a million-token context window, or a real production load on a real GPU. Both engineers are reading code. They are not reading the same thing. Remember that 47x number from the start? That's just one shape of the same idea. The pattern has a name now. Data-oriented design. The ugly version isn't ugly. It's just legible to a different reader. You were taught to write small classes. You were told inheritance was good architecture. You were graded in interviews on whether your design had enough layers. None of that was a lie. It was the right answer to a question the hardware was asking 15 years ago. We wrote all those layers because for about 15 years we were rich. Cloud was cheap. Cores were free. We could afford to optimize for ergonomics because the silicon was carrying us. That era ended quietly, and admitting it is the most senior thing most of us will do this year. The model isn't your bottleneck. Your vector database is doing the exact thing this video just described, 2 layers up, wrapping a SciMD kernel in a Python class hierarchy and calling it production ready, while your vector database is destroying your AI app's performance. Next,